Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, I'm Ashley.
Welcome to the Capital Mom Real Life Conversation. If you're joining us today for the first time, welcome. If you're joining us again, we're so glad to have you again. And just so you know what our last episode was on, it was getting to know us, along with friendships in motherhood. So we're excited for today to kind of dive into some content a little bit deeper. Yes. So we're gonna start with our glimmer and our dimmer, just like we did last time. And Ashley is gonna kick us off with a glimmer.
Yes, so I was in the car the other day and my daughter is really excited and motivated to, when she has her screen time, we try to have limits, but when we have her screen time, she wanted to use a Switch, which is something we got for Christmas. And we have some limits already set, but she was asking me, even though we've already set our limits, and I got a little frustrated in the car. And so I was like, hey, we already have these limits. And when you ask me and I have to say no and no and no, I feel like I'm a bad mom. Like, I don't like to feel that way. And like, she was quiet for a little bit, and then a few minutes later she was like, Mom, you are not a bad mom. And it like melted my heart. And then she just had like such a sweet, like mature conversation with me after that of like, you're not, and I'm sorry I pushed. And like, I guess it just really made me feel like, okay, the things that I'm trying to do and like using our words and communicating is helping. And that was a super great glimmer for me, and she like totally warmed my heart.
Mine's a completely different feel than Ashley's.
So good.
Mine is a dimmer, but it's also one of those dimmers that you look back on and you're like, it's kind of a glimmer because it's so funny. So this happened right after we recorded our first episode. So it was back in January. It is now the end of February. So everything kind of posts like the next month. So we had just gotten all of that snow, and the snow was just melting. And I had taken my 3 kids and her 1 kid that she just talked about, Anna, to the park after school. And everybody was so excited because it was just the first warm day in a long time. And we ran up to the park, and when we got there, we saw that there were giant puddles everywhere, which of course, because it had just snowed and the snow had just melted. And I kind of walked up and I was like, oh, I just feel like maybe this is the wrong park.
And Penny was with you.
And we had our dog Penny with us, of course.
Star of the show last time.
Yes. Yes. So I wanted to turn around and like find a new park, but I was like, we're here. I got all 4 kids here. Let's do it. So the kids start playing. Everything's fine. And then they want to go on the merry-go-round. So I'm pushing them on the merry-go-round. And my 1-year-old, Finley, wanted to get on the merry-go-round with them. And so they're kind of pushing themselves, and there's a giant puddle around the entire merry-go-round. And everything's good. And then finally they start getting a little bit too fast on the merry-go-round. So I decide I need to go save Finley because it's going too fast.
She's 18 months and it's going fast.
Right. So I hop on the merry-go-round and I swoop in to save the day. And I go to take her off, and my foot gets caught, and I fell. I think you see where this is going. I fell backward into the giant puddle, holding Finley in my arms. She did not get hurt. Yeah. She did not get wet.
Super mom.
Like, my whole back and my whole legs were soaked, and I'm just laying there like, okay, here we are. And there's these other moms from across the park, and they see me and they're like, yeah! Celebrating with me. And I think it was one of those moments where I could have been like really mad and just been like, oh, I can't believe this happened. But having those other moms like make it like fun and like, yeah, you got this, you saved the day. And I was like, yeah! Like, it turned into this like celebratory, awesome moment, but also like very much a dimmer because I was soaked and it was cold. And then we go back to the car, and Ashley meets us there to pick up Anna. And my dog Penny had then also gotten in the mud, and I'm like going to get in my car is like less than a year old, so I'm trying to keep it nice, which is very hard to do, but I'm like, okay, help me.
Yeah, she's trying to navigate like 3 kids that are just wet and muddy, and then a dog, and
yes,
my kid.
So Ashley comes up with a little water bottle and dumps it on
Penny's
paws.
We're cleaning off Penny's paws, trying to be, I'm like scrubbing her paws, and we're trying to just get anything cleaned up as possible.
Yeah. But we did the thing.
Yes, and the kids got muddy, and they had a blast, and they didn't know any different because Rachel did such a good job too, like,
you're sweet,
reacting in the way that made it just like kind of fun. And then I do think I could tell that it was helpful when I was like, I'll help, because you were like, oh, like at that last straw where you were like, I'm kind of cold, and it's not sure
I'm ready to go.
Best decision. And I was glad I could like be there to help support, because I had just gotten there. So
but totally, like in that moment, like moms supporting moms, like Ashley and the other moms at the park, like made that moment what it was. So
yeah, so true. Yeah, true. I love that. The story is so great. We were like crying, laughing so hard. We're literal super moms. We're excited to dive into the content today. We just have a lot of, just some great thoughts that we're excited to share with you. So this one, we particularly want to talk about emotions, big emotions in our kids, but also in ourselves as moms. And how those relate and tie in our experiences and kind of what we've learned, and as we continue to learn as we're navigating motherhood and emotions with our kids, and trying to be emotionally healthy for them and help them continue to develop emotionally healthy skills and things too. So.
Yeah, and then also we're gonna finish with, trying to keep our emotions, like trying to respond rather than react to our children when they are having those big emotions, but also understanding that we are not perfect, we are humans, and there are going to be times when we do react. And then, as most, I think, good moms do, think back and been like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have reacted that way. And then going to our kids and repairing and making things right.
Yes, realizing that there is a tool that is, like, repairing as a tool is so valuable and helps heal both us and our kiddos and our experiences.
Totally. So I have some notes that I'm going to hold today, just because this is
Keep
a
us on
lot,
track.
And we don't want to talk too long, but we do want to get into the nitty gritty and really talk about this important conversation. So the first thing for me when one of my children is having a big emotion, I think my biggest tool to remember is pausing before I react. Like I just said, so responding before reacting. And I think that reacting is that immediate, like, oh, I'm feeling triggered, so now I'm going to just respond to that trigger, as opposed to breathing, take a moment and realize it's not an emergency. I started a word of the year, which I haven't done before, but this is the first year I've done it. And I decided it's going to be breathe for this exact reason, because I personally am having the big emotions with my second, who is 4. And I just think that age, that like 2, 3, 4 age, is kind of when they're experiencing independence for the first time, and they're trying to break out of, my 1-year-old, it just wants mama all the time, but he's getting bigger and older, and he wants to do things by himself, and that's when those big emotions happen.
Yeah, and they have words, but they don't have like the emotional
intelligence
yet to know that, like, oh, those words cause reactions in other people.
Totally.
They're experiencing, like, playing around with, what does this do? What is, if I express this, how does this emotion feel in my body?
Yes. And so having the word breathe has helped me. Like, sometimes I'll be in that moment where I'll be like, okay, breathe. This is, breathe before you respond. And I usually, pretty much always, if I do that, I'm going to respond in a better way than if I had just reacted right away.
Yeah, which is it's not like an easy thing. And I think you making it like a word of the year is so helpful, because then you're like repeating it and trying, and you get to try again like every single day.
Totally.
One of the things that I know has helped me in trying to create pause for that is making sure that I have time for it. So if I'm feeling rushed and I have not given myself time to do the things that I need to do prior to leaving. For example, transitions are such difficult or easy times for me to lose my cool.
Yes.
Or have us, you know, not be on good terms, child parent, because it's a transition time and they often don't want to go and I'm like ready to go, or, you know, and if I haven't done my steps to just give us time and it feels rushed, I feel like I don't have the time to pause.
Totally.
When in reality, it actually makes it even longer. I know it.
Yes.
It does.
Every time.
It makes it even longer than if I had paused and tried to just relate with where they are, because developmentally, they are probably in a perfectly normal emotional state for their development.
And even just the pause can be as simple as just like getting down on their level and saying, hey, I know you don't want to leave right now, but this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and just like, I think meeting a kid in the eye is huge.
I agree. I think they feel seen. I feel seen when someone meets me in the eye like that, and I can tell it's very intent. Like there's a lot of purpose and intent in that. Yeah. So yeah, trying to give myself some time for that is really, really helpful.
I wanted to touch on, actually just saw this on Instagram yesterday, and I messaged it to Ashley because I thought it was spot on to exactly what we're talking about. So this is Dr. Siggy, if you want to follow her on Instagram. She is phenomenal with parenting tips. But one thing I kind of was reflecting on her. She's an older woman, and I was thinking about how, you know, like if I picture myself like 30 years from now and I'm thinking about all of these little big emotions that we're dealing with, they're going to seem so insignificant in the scheme of life. You know, but right now when we're treading them and they're our real life, they are big. They matter to us and they impact our days, you know.
We're probably sleep deprived. We're probably, you know, like just different little stresses, tired, or, you know, or have multiple emotions happening at the same time.
And maybe we're dealing with our own things.
Yes,
and maybe don't know that.
Yes, we have our own,
And so actually thinking about that helped me, because I'm thinking of it as like looking off a balcony at my life, you know, and if you're looking at a moment from far away, or like even, will this matter a year from now? I think you can have a better response than if you're just like so in that tunnel vision of where you are. Yeah. But what she said is, your ultimate power as a parent is your calmness. Yelling is not power. It is losing control of your own emotions. Giving in is not power. It is your child's behavior controlling your actions. Punishment is not power. It's feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, and unsure how else to guide your child. Your ultimate power as a parent is your calm. The ability to stay focused, regulated, and in charge in the face of your child's emotions and outbursts.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that so good?
Yes.
And it's also hard.
It's so hard.
Like, the reality of that is hard.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense when you're like, okay, if I can just stay calm.
Yeah.
That is my superpower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're feeding into that emotion that they are feeling, and they don't know whether to say, this is normal and now I just need to work through it, or this is a really big deal and I don't know how to control it.
Totally.
And if I'm unable to control my emotions about it, it's going to be really hard for them to learn to level it and be like, it's just an emotion, and emotions are temporary, which is another, like, if you could take that away from this too. I read it in a book one time, parenting book. I'll have to try and look and see where it was, but it was so good in just saying emotions are temporary. You're going to feel them. They feel really big in the moment, but emotions pass.
They're like waves. I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
Like, think of it, you have to feel that wave, get through the big wave, and it will, on the other side, will be better.
Yes.
You know?
That helped me so much too. Being like, it's temporary. Emotions are temporary.
So I want to ask Ashley a question. I'm going to put her on the spot here.
Yeah.
How do you regulate big emotions in your child or children in public situations? I know that can get a lot of parents kind of on edge because there's people around, people are watching, like, it makes you feel even more frazzled. You just want it to stop. What do you do?
Yes. Yes, not perfect at this, but definitely things that I try to do this. I can tell you one thing, that trying to cover their mouth does not help. I like accidentally did that. It was just like a response. Like it happened. I was like, you know, and oh my gosh, it made it 3 times worse. It was, you know, and then I felt terrible because I was like, oh yeah, that didn't feel good for me either, like at all. Yeah. The biggest thing is realizing that I think when my kids have an outburst in public, I judge myself. So if I'm having a hard time with it, or let me see if I can explain that better. Like if my kid has an outburst and then I have like some choices in this moment. One is that I can start judging myself and be like, oh, I am so embarrassed that my kid is acting this way. Where have I gone wrong? What have I done? Yeah. And that is actually turning into like, I'm looking inward at me instead of outward at my child, for one. So it's so easy for me to like, that's almost like a natural reaction, I feel like, for us, is to like, well, what did I do wrong? To like allow so that my kid is doing this. Like, obviously it means I've done something wrong as a parent or whatever. When in reality, again, that's going to make the situation it's not going to help the situation at all. I'm just adding another emotion into a big emotion. Totally. So if I can pause and realize
the pause.
If I can realize and just break away from judging myself and realize that this has nothing to do with me.
Yes.
This doesn't. This is my kiddo having a hard time in this moment, and just like simplify it.
Yes.
My kiddo's having a hard time in this moment. Trying to, again, come down to their level. What is it that they're sad about? Try to show them that I see them and that their emotion matters because it is normal for their age. And just try to block out the fact that other people might be looking at me.
Totally.
You know, like just put blinders on. I don't know.
Because ultimately, it is a relationship between you and your child.
Yes.
All of these other people are not a part of your family unit.
No.
So your child is what's important at that moment, you know?
Yes. And there will be, you're gonna get different responses from parents if you look, you know, if you look out, you're gonna get different responses. Some that you're gonna be like, oh, I feel really embarrassed. Some that are gonna come over and be like, I see you, Mom.
Yes.
And it like means the world.
Absolutely.
You know, I've tried to do that myself. If I see a mom struggling and I'm like, ugh, and just be like, I've been there. Like, that's all you have to say is like, mouth it. Like, I see you.
Yes.
I've been there. It's hard. And you're doing great. Like, hang in there. Even if like the response doesn't seem like, you know, it looks like the mom's struggling or whatever. She's like, I see you. Just trying to send out that good, like, it's hard. I see you. You're doing great. I'm not judging. I got my own stuff. You know? So just trying to not judge myself, and then again, trying to avoid feeling really rushed.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's the next thing I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about slowing down.
Again, if I'm feeling rushed, then I'm going to be like, I don't have time to deal with the emotions. Which is not, that's actually what that's why I have kids. I have time for you. Yeah. What else really matters? Totally. Aside from like our family, you know, our family unit.
In the whole scheme of life, like if you're 5 minutes late to a practice because you have to deal with,
because your kid has an emotion that they need help working through. Like, isn't that what we're here for?
Like, totally. So the next thing I had was slowing down. So I was picturing a moment with my oldest was drawing a picture, and we were trying to leave, or a bedtime, or I don't even remember what, this was a while ago, but we were trying to go, we were trying to leave, and she wanted to finish her picture. And we were like, no, time to go, let's go. And I had this, and she had a big emotion about that. And so I had this moment where I was like, what if I was working on something important and somebody was like, let's go. And I had no other choice but to stop what I was doing in the middle of what I'm doing and leave because this older person said so.
Yes.
And that feels so unfair because they are human, and even though it's just a picture, and in our mind we're like, this is probably gonna end up in the trash, you know?
Yes.
But to them, it is really important, and it should be, because they're getting those skills to be able to eventually do something that when they're an adult will be important, you know? Yes. And if we tell them that something that is important to them isn't, like, sorry, leaving's more important than what you're doing. I would have a big emotion too. And so I think just seeing our children, like at that moment, she just needed, hey, instead of let's go, it could have been, hey, let me know when you're at a stopping point and then we're going to go. Or, hey, can you finish that one little part and then we'll go and you can finish it later. Yeah. Something like that.
Yes. Or something that really works in our house is like, I'm going to set a 2-minute timer.
Totally.
So finish whatever you need to finish in those 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we do have this commitment, you know, kind of letting them know and then saying whatever it is right then, great. If you need to finish it when you come back, that's an option. But like just giving that like little bit of a heads up helps my kiddos a lot too. And if you think about it, if I'm doing the laundry and my kid's like, I need your help, or, you know, like, I need you, or whatever, and I'm like, just a moment.
Yes.
Like, yes. Then how do I, if I'm always doing that to them, then for them to be like, I'm not done yet, like, makes sense. So then I could also do that for me. If they're like, I need you, and I'm like, can you give me 2 minutes to finish what I'm doing? And that maybe creates some consistency too, that feels like across the board, like, oh yeah, I can give you 2 minutes because you gave me 2 minutes the other day, or anyway.
I love that. That's so good. Yes. The next thing I wanted to talk about is how each child is different. And I'm sure with you having 3 kids and I have 3 kids, when we're responding to their big emotions, I have to respond differently.
Yeah.
Do you have that as well?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah. My oldest is, she does like to step away for a little bit, but she will read. That's one of her calming down things that works beautifully for her. She does want to have a conversation afterward, but it does work really beautifully for her.
Yeah. My
second, you know, I'm definitely in a process of trying to help her best. Hers feel really big, and I notice that I can let my emotions feel big when I see that. It almost, I don't know, you love your child and you have an emotion when they're hurting, and then your emotions get big. And so I'm kind of working on that, but she's really great with her words. All my kids are, but kind of giving her some space to do that too. Drawing, she really likes to do that to kind of just help calm down and be in her own space for a little bit. Yeah. So then I wanted to talk about how, sorry, I lost my page. Oh, about calming before you talk about what happened. Yeah. Which is exactly what you just said. So if your kid is dysregulated and you're trying to have the conversation, they can't even hear you at all. Like, and you're like, why aren't you listening? Because they're dysregulated. They can't hear you. Yeah. And so giving them that space and that time, again, all of this is time. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's the common denominator. But before you talk, making sure they're calm, their emotions are regulated, and then we can talk about what happened. Before bed, I feel like is a really good time because that's like a connecting moment. Yes, it is. Is laying in bed, hey, remember when this happened today? I'd like to talk about it. Yes, yes. And also like fabulous walk-in for repair as well. Totally. But like, you know, sitting and spending that time with them and having that be the last thing on their day. Again, like making time for that in whatever way that looks for you. Because you know, everybody's schedules are different. You might have older kids that are, I don't know, kind of find what works for you, but creating even 10 minutes of like very non-rushed time has definitely benefited us when we've had that in place. And so before we talked about repair, I wanted to just talk about ways to re-regulate when we are dysregulated as moms. Yes. So for me, and I would assume, I think most moms have this similar list, going outside. Yes. Singing a song. Sometimes I have found when I want to yell, if I sing what I want to say, like, it sounds so silly, but like, I am so frustrated right now. Yes. Like, and I didn't yell, and the kids often think it's funny. And they respond back to the song too. And they might be like, okay, you know, like, and it totally changes the moment. Yes, it does. We've done that before too. Turning on music and dancing, adding water. Always adding water. Get in the bath. Oh, yes. Yes. Yep, color change cars in the bath. Mentioned that before. Yes. So those are, I don't know if you have any others, but I feel like those are just like. No, those are so good. And I think those ones are great. Sometimes it's even getting a snack. Like, oh, I think we might need to eat or drink some water. Like we're all just feeling that.
Yeah.
The other thing that does help me a lot, and it was a quote that I read in a book as well, but it said, our children are not objects to be perfected. They are human beings to have relationships with.
Yeah.
So when I stop trying to feel like I have to form you into this perfect little person to go out to the rest of the world, it takes the pressure off of that and realizing I'm not here to perfect you. I am here to have a relationship with you, learn about you, support you, listen to you, hear what you like and don't like. And I think that's when they learn to do that back as well. So that takes the pressure off. Again, a lot of my emotions come from me putting pressure on myself, either judging myself harshly or feeling like I need to do it perfectly. And that's not a reality. Yeah. Especially as we're learning every day. I try to say, like, remind myself of that too. Every day is a new day with my 9, 7, and 3-year-old. I've never parented. Start. Yes, that's so true. I've never parented a 9, 7, and 3-year-old, these particular children on this day before.
Yes.
Like, I'm a new parent on these children today. Mm-hmm. So like giving myself that grace, and then, what you said.
The final thing we want to talk about is repair. So like we said, we are going to react before we respond, react before we respond sometimes. Yeah. And we're going to mess up. We're not perfect. So then what? What do we do? Yeah. So for me, an I'm sorry is a great start, but I think the mistake that some people make is, I'm sorry because you, or I was mad because you, and that is not an apology. And so taking that away and saying, I'm sorry, I was upset. I responded, or I handled that in a way that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. Can we try again? Is a real apology. And I've done it so many times, and I feel like every time we walk away stronger. And we actually, the cool thing I think about repair is you can actually imagine or rewire, yes, the brain and of how you remember that situation. Mm-hmm. So something that I love to do with my son especially is I will say, hey, I don't like how I did that. Can we talk about what I would do differently if we could replay that moment again? So when you said this, instead of me saying this, here's what I would have said. Do you like that better? And then he would usually say, yeah, I like that better. And in that moment, we're having a connecting moment again, and we're reimagining what happened. And now hopefully, or maybe his brain will think, oh, that wasn't such a bad moment because mom would have done it like this.
Yeah. I love that. Honestly, I'm like learning from Rachel right now, just because I don't know that I would have said it or have said it that way. And I actually really love that you like how you say that, because I could see how it would change how I remembered that, realizing like, oh, and then gives them permission that when they choose to do something that they wish they hadn't, that they can also pause and go back and repair and not feel stuck in that moment of like, oh, I made a mistake and I can't get out of it. And that's a very real emotion too, I think, as parents, but also as kids. And I've seen that, I've seen that in my kids, feeling trapped in that, like, I made a mistake and I can't make it better.
And now I'm bad. I'm a bad kid, and realizing, no, there are, I love, if you don't know, Dr. Becky is another person that I love, and she has a book called No Bad Kids. There are no bad kids. Yeah. They don't exist. There are kids who make mistakes. There are adults who make mistakes. Yes. We are all human. Yes. And just remembering that in all that we do throughout our days, even throughout big emotions, they are not bad kids.
Yes. Another author that I super love, like for the mom side and trying to not judge myself, Brene Brown, amazing. Her stuff is so helpful on that. But yeah, then being able to name the emotions that I was feeling. Sometimes I can't, if I'm not in the right place to name my emotion in that moment, gives us a chance to name it then. Say, this is, I was feeling this. Yes. I made this decision. If I could go back, this is how I would, this is how I would do it. Over naming that emotion, I think takes some of the power out of it, of feeling scary or realizing that it's normal, just normalizing that we feel that. And then hopefully showing a healthy way of working through conflict like that, which we think will, we hope will benefit our kiddos as they continue to grow, and certainly is benefiting us working through, me working through conflict. That it's just going to happen.
It doesn't stop just because you're not a kid.
Yeah.
It keeps going.
Yes. But I felt like genuine, like heartwarming moments with my kids trying to repair, and have been amazed at the goodness of our kids. Going back to what you said, there are no bad kids, but like absolutely they can shine in those moments in a way that like takes your breath away, where you're like, you are so good. Like you really are. And they're so like loving and full of love, and that like heals you too. So like as you're giving that love of like, let's repair because I care about you, like they have tended to just fill our cups right back up. So just amaze us at their, emotional maturity as we continue to do this. So
you don't need to do motherhood alone. Come join our village.
Exactly as you are.